Today, I'm going to answer a question that I got from my comments. The comment was, I would love more details on your favorite foods you include in your keto diet. All right, so today I'm going to share with you some of my favorite foods that I have used in the last 10 months to lose 22 pounds. So when I first started out on the keto plan, one of the struggles that I was having was figuring out how I could stay on the plan because there were a lot of foods that I used to love to eat that I could not eat any longer. And so what I had to do was come up with some substitute keto-friendly foods so that I'd be able to stay on this plan long term. So some of those things that I substituted were like finding a substitute for chips, a replacement for chocolate or for treats, figuring out how I could still eat out at fast food or regular restaurants. And I've been able to come up with a pretty good list of go-to foods that have enabled me to stay on this plan and lose weight. So the first food that I cannot live without is eggs. I eat a lot of eggs during the day. I love them because I eat them boiled or I'll eat them scrambled, throw in a little bit of tomato. I try to always add in a vegetable with every single meal because that is the key to staying fuller longer. That's what's kept me to be able to go longer between my meals. And there are some days where I may even only have 2 meals, but I've never gotten hungry in between those meals because the fiber and the protein and the fat that I've eaten has made me feel so satisfied that I can actually go longer between my first and my second meal. Some of the ways that I enjoy eggs is I will mix in some mayonnaise with them and have an egg salad sandwich. I've made deviled eggs where I mix in some mayonnaise and some mustard. I also make my eggs fried and I'll eat them with maybe like a piece of very low carb toast, which is for me Dave's Killer Bread. I'll put a lot of butter on it, but it's a total 13 grams of carbs. It's about 10 grams of net carbs, but I can stay under my 20 grams of total carbs even if I just have one slice of Dave's Killer Bread. I will also eat my eggs scrambled in the morning. I'll mix them with some tomatoes. I find that's the vegetable I like the most with my eggs. And then I will top that off with a lot of cheese. I've always loved cheese, which is actually my second favorite keto-friendly food. I'll eat a lot of cheese on that. I will melt it. And sometimes I will try to add an extra little serving of fat. So I'll either have some pecans on the side, which is about 4 grams of total carbs less 3 grams of fiber. And so it's 1 gram net carb. I eat a lot of pecans in between my meals. If I just get a little bit hungry, it's a great way for me to get a little extra fat in, but it's very low carb. And the particular pecans that I get are over at Walmart. They're called roasted and salted pecans. And a lot of times they're actually out in Walmart, and I know why, because they're very delicious, but they're not the kind of pecans where they've added like sugar to them. So you have to be careful when you buy some pecans because they've made them like honey roasted. And so they've had to add sugar to them to do that. And of course that increases your total carbs, and then that'll throw me out of my plan. So these roasted and salted pecans are the best because they're still high fat, very low carb, but they taste delicious. Now, another fat I'll add to my eggs is it's called Udo's oil, and it's a really good, healthy oil that I get from Whole Foods. I've been eating it for years, and it has a lot of omega-3s if you're trying to get your fish oils in, which I do try to incorporate those as well, but I will add a teaspoon to my eggs, or sometimes 2 teaspoons, depending on how much fat I want to add into that meal. If I don't have one of those 2 things, then I will add a sausage patty, which is a full fat sausage patty. I usually get the Jimmy Dean sausage patties. And again, that's just delicious with my eggs. So I have my breakfast pretty well set with one of those options. And then I will try to wait as long as I possibly can to eat my first meal. When I work, the days that I work, I usually eat by 8 or 9 because I just get hungry earlier since I start my day earlier. But on the weekends, I can wait as long as 11 or 1. I try to wait as long as I can. And I will eat that first meal around 11 or 1, and then I won't be hungry again until about 4 or 5, which is great because if I'm lucky, I can just get in those 2 meals and I don't even notice it. I'm not that hungry. So another one of my favorite foods is the Quest protein chips. I get the taco flavor, and I will use that either to make nachos with some ground beef or seasoned ground beef with taco flavoring, and then I'll add on top of that tomatoes, lettuce, sour cream, sometimes guacamole, but not so much anymore. I've kind of gotten out of that. But it is a great substitute for nachos if you love nachos. Like I love the nachos at Cheesecake Factory. They're so good, but they're very high in carbs because of all the chips in them. So what I do now is I just make my food at home. It's a lot cheaper. I still enjoy the taste of the nachos. And if we have a taco or burrito night with the family, I can just substitute those Quest chips. They're very low total carbs, and it's very filling because it has a lot of that extra protein in it, versus when you eat regular chips, you just can't seem to get filled up. And it's because it's all processed flour and sugar, which just makes it harder for you to feel fuller. So I will incorporate those nachos maybe once a week, sometimes once every other week. I actually don't get cravings for nachos as much anymore, just because I don't tend to have that binge feeling when I'm eating my nachos with those Quest chips. Now, a third food I love because I need to have a substitute for my treats is, first of all, I have a coffee that I make in the morning, which is kind of like a treat to me. I mean, let's be honest, when you go to Starbucks or Coffee Bean and you get one of those really fancy mocha drinks, there's a lot of calories in that, and it's almost like a dessert. But the problem is it's all sugar and carbohydrates. So I've learned to make my coffee at home. And right now it's around the fall and Christmas season, so they have all of the new seasonal creamers out, and they also make them in no sugar added. So what I do is I get the no sugar added creamers, and I get the peppermint mocha, and I get the pumpkin spice. I can kind of rotate those. And the way that I make it is I just use a little bit of Instant Folgers coffee crystals, and then I will add 3 packs of Sweet and Low, which have no sugar in them. I will add in just a tiny little bit of cinnamon and sugar. It almost has 0 carbs in it. And then I will take one of my creamers, whichever one I choose, and I will fill it up with some creamer, so very low sugar, and then I'll add in some whipped cream. Whipped cream is actually very low carb. If you use it, say around like a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons, it's only like 1 to 2 grams of carbs. So still keeps your total carbs low, but I will actually drink those drinks throughout the day. I will have maybe 2 or 3 of those drinks. I don't even track them in my tracker, and I've still been able to lose weight because I've got the rest of my diet nailed down with everything else. Now, another treat that I have, I could never give up chocolate, so I had to find a way to substitute for the chocolate and even the cakes and the cookies and all the sweets that I used to eat. So what I get is Lily's no sugar added chocolate. The one I currently like right now is either there's a salted caramel or there's like a creamy milk chocolate. And if you eat the whole candy bar, the total carbs will be high. But I don't eat the whole candy bar. I usually will eat only 2 or 3, maybe sometimes 5 squares of it. Still really low total carbs when you do that. And then I also have these little peanut butter cups that I get. They either have dark chocolate or they have the peanut butter milk chocolate flavor. I'll have one of those a night. They're 70 calories and they're pretty low total carbs, but I just fit that into my eating plan. I make sure that I still stay under that 20 grams of carbs, and I get to enjoy that treat every night. It's really delicious, really satisfying, and I really don't crave any more sugar after that. Now, another treat that I stumbled on recently, it's going to sound a little weird when I tell you this, but it's actually quite good, and it was my husband who put me onto this. It was his idea. Have you ever been to Burger King and had their Hershey's chocolate mousse pie? Really yummy, right? Well, what we started doing is the chocolate whipped cream is now in season since we're going into the holidays. So we had a can of it in our refrigerator, and my husband last night, because he's doing this with me, said, you know what, I'm just gonna put like a little bit of that chocolate whipped cream in a little dish, and then I'm just gonna eat it, because when you eat it alone, it tastes just like chocolate mousse, and it tastes almost exactly like the Hershey's pie. Now, it's not exactly the same, obviously, but it's pretty darn close enough. And for me, I tried that last night. It was very satisfying. It was only just a tiny bit of it in a dish that I ate with a spoon, and I didn't crave anything else after that. It tasted just like that Hershey's pie to me. And now I have a really yummy new dessert that I get to eat. So I want to hear from you. Leave me a comment down below and let me know some of your favorite keto-friendly foods. And if you are on a weight loss journey like I am, recently I told you I just lost 22 pounds. I did a video where I talk about how I lost the first 15 pounds. I go completely into detail how I did that. So you can check that out right here if you're interested and see exactly what I did to do that. And this was over 50 years old when honestly, before I started this plan, nothing else was working and I was struggling to lose weight. So I hope that helps you, and I'll see you in the next video.